Hello, everyone. Welcome to Knoxville Game Design Meetup Group Chat Podcast. Once again, I didn't stop till I just call it Game Design Chat. Welcome to Game Design Chat. We just started over. It is Sunday, July 10th. Our game this month is Fran Bow that we're going to be discussing. Just a heads up, we're discussing the full game as game designers, so there will be spoilers all over the place. And given that this is an adventure type game that sort of has a mystery component to its story, big spoilers for, as we discuss into the endings on that. So the magic of a podcast or YouTube video, wherever you're watching this, is you can pause it, go play the game, and then come back and play this. In fact, you can go to any of the games that we have done on Game Design Chat after you've played them, and then go back and listen to it and see what we thought as game designers. And then the second big caveat up at the front is we're approaching this as game designers, not reviewers. And we tend to be very, very critical on very, very small, minute things that don't really ruin the enjoyment of the game as a whole. So just remember, we're not reviewing the game. The games generally we're positive on, even though we sound really negative at parts. That's because we're picking apart it to learn about its game design and how we can apply it to our own. Our next game coming up is going to be Anodyne. And it's a Zelda-like or original Legend of Zelda-like. It's even a 4:3 aspect ratio, it appears to be. And apparently it came out in 2013 and made some critical reviews. I missed it, but apparently I already owned it. So, I think a couple of us here looked at our Steam and we already owned it. So we picked it up in the Humble Bundle at some part. So you may already own this game if you're the kind of person who's backed Humble Bundles, and you can check it. So you've got now until then to play it. And we've actually gone one further out and scheduled Barony as our September game. So August is Anodyne. Barony is September. Barony looks to be a throwback to the Ultima Underworlds and the dawn of 3D dungeon crawling. So it looks pretty good as well when we get to that. So real quick, we're going to run around the room and start with Levi, and we'll go around that way. What have you been playing or making?
So I played a few games over the last month or so. Played the very controversial Mighty Number 9. I wasn't part of the whole Kickstarter controversy and all that. I just picked it up on the PlayStation Network.
So you weren't a backer?
I wasn't a backer.
Okay.
So I'm coming from like a clean slate and everything. I thought it was an okay game. That's an unpopular opinion, but I mean, it's Mega Man. I mean, what are people expecting of it? I mean,
I've heard from a lot of other sources that if you can step back, it's just an okay platformer. There's not anything great, not anything terrible about it. And that if you were a backer, the emotional roller coaster, if you stayed up on announcements and what was going on, and when they launched multiple Kickstarters and then terrible ads, and they mocked anime fans even though they kickstarted an anime, and all of that turns it from an okay game to worse.
I thought the boss battles were well done. The levels could have used some more work, and I know some of the later parts of the game were a little bit glitchy, so it looked like it could have used some more time in the oven there. But I thought it was a fine game for a $20 game. I got it for $20 off the PlayStation Network. I think if you buy the box, it's like $30, and I think it would have been a great game for $15. Also still playing Odin Sphere. I'm on my last character. So this is like my favorite game from PlayStation 2, and there's 5 different characters in the game. They all have like a unique story, but they kind of intertwine with each other. So
Since you mentioned it, I've heard it in like 3 of my game podcasts that I listened to made reference to like the reboots, and I was like, oh, I'm going back and playing this, and it's an awesome game, and I loved it. So it's like moved it up on my keep an eye out. PlayStation has sales all the time. When it pops up, maybe I'll grab it.
Yeah, definitely like an action RPG, but still like I wouldn't call it a platformer, but side-scrolling. And also, I know one of your favorites, I downloaded Pokemon Go the other day.
I've been playing Pokemon Go, too.
I've been catching them all, and you got to catch them all. And I got a gym right at the park near my house, which is very helpful. I haven't been able to battle or anything yet, so I'm still in the phase of just collecting. So I think I just reached level 5.
Today, I got to be able to go battle, and it's just as terrible to me as the rest of the game. The battle isn't a Pokemon battle. You don't like pick moves and do counters. You play this swiping mini game.
Oh, okay.
And it goes really fast. And so like the first time it was over before I knew what was going on. It doesn't even throw you to a menu of like, oh, your Pokemon just got knocked out. Which of the next Pokemon which of your 6? Like you pick the 6 going in, which one are going out next? It just auto throws out the next one.
Oh, okay.
And if you hit the little menu to say, no, I want to switch, the battle's still going on while you're in the menu, Dark Souls style.
Oh, okay.
So then it's like, oh, well, I don't have to take him back because he's dead too. And when you go to a gym, you don't get to see the 6 you're up against. You just get to see like the one that looks like it's claimed the gym.
Oh, okay.
So like people are realizing like, hey, that's the first Pokemon. So it like, hey, this gym is occupied by a level 24 Pidgey. I'm like, well, I can stomp that. No problem. Oh, wait, the rest of his ones are level 600 and 700.
Oh,
and
okay.
it really feels pay to win very fast because just learning how to do a gym, I blew through my revives they start you with, and then it's like, oh, I'm done here. And the only way I can get revives is to walk randomly around the place and tap Pokestops and hope they drop a revive because they might drop balls that I don't need.
Yeah, I've been like driving around out in Oak Ridge, which is just outside of Knoxville, like going, I know where all the churches in Oak Ridge are right now because they're all Pokestops, and I can
all
like,
churches and all graveyards seem to be gyms and Pokestops.
I would feel really uncomfortable driving around Oak Ridge, given,
Oh, yeah. There's been people I've seen stopped at the side of the road with their phone, and it's just like, I didn't check, but that's a Pokestop, isn't it? That's like, you're near something. Now, ironically, the gym, the actual physical gym at work, our private gym, is a Pokemon gym as well. And I did go there when one of the guys went down and claimed it at work. He was like, I were at lunch, I went and I claimed it. And I was just like, is that the first time you set foot in our gym?
I was like in Best Buy the other day, and it's just like filled with Pokemon there. So I'm like going around catching them, and I got all these like Best Buy employees coming up. It's like, can we help you?
Like, no, go away.
I'm just collecting my Pokemon here.
Exactly. So I'm going to keep messing with it. I just kind of want to ride it out. I have a fear that the game's going to taper off really fast because unless there's a mechanic I'm missing, the people who have spent money to level up Pokemon are just going to dominate the gym. Like they're already like. I thought I was doing good to have like a level. I got a Rattata to like whose name Pestilence, by the way, because of course that's been my most fun in the game. It's been naming the Pokemon that I catch. And then I realized like, ooh, some of these are going to look really weird when they're in front of a church, but that's not my call. But I'm worried that the people who pay are going to just way outpace the people who aren't putting money in the system, and there's not going to really be a method to catch up. So I just kind of want to ride this out and see, does this stay as popular or does it fit it? But man, could you imagine how awesome this game would be if they did actual Pokemon style fighting?
Oh, yeah.
Which, come on, why can't you implement that? That's like the most basic rock, paper, scissors thing. And if I could just battle Levi here, if I could just say, hey, Levi, you want to battle? And it's like, I can't trade or battle with Levi. Yeah. I can only do it through the interface. And it's like, you guys missed so much of what Pokemon is. It's amazing.
There. Some kind of local co-op even, just to acknowledge that you and your friend both play and phone bump.
Yeah.
Bonus.
I almost think, though, that there's another interesting game design issue coming up here, which is, from what I've heard, it's basically Ingress with a Pokemon theme, which is bad in the sense of you guys are expecting a Pokemon game. It's good in the sense of this is kind of bringing a genre of alternate reality games that I would not have touched. I heard people talking about Ingress, and I was like, man, that sounds like a commitment. That sounds weird, but Pokemon Go, sure, I'll download that. So it may be kind of introducing concepts that, some other game will come through and do better.
Yeah.
I usually play until I can get to that paywall. And that's one thing that I really liked about Clash of Clans, which I played for about a year or so. I mean, I never had to actually pay. But, I mean, some people could pay and, like, get...
We talked about Clash of Clans right before you got here for that exact reason. It was the game that I played up to you felt a very real paywall, and it's like you don't go past level 7 without spending money.
This game seems like there's going to be a meta. Like whatever the people in, if there's someone in your area who's paying on another team, then you're going to have to pay to compete. If not, then it's going to be, let's just go around and collect what we can.
Find the low populated graveyards.
Like, we'll out explore other people and out collect other people.
Well, it's interesting for me coming from the countryside. There's not a whole lot populated in the game.
Yes, you have an advantage.
Though I think there's only one gym in our town and a couple Pokestops, so I'm actually running low.
Oh, okay. So I thought you'd have an advantage in like the Pokestop and gym distribution would be even, not cut back. So that actually sucks.
I found there's 2 Pokestops, one near the house and one on the way to work.
Because controlling a gym is the way that you get resources without paying.
See, the gym in town already has like a 700-something Voltion sitting on it, so I don't know how to get them out of there. And I haven't done the battle yet. I just got to level 5. Coming into Knoxville today was fun, because that was the first time I really got to see the map have a whole bunch of different things to do, and I did walk around and hit the church and the graveyard.
Yeah, they're all over the place right in this area.
It's nothing like
around
that.
the old city.
I mean, Knoxville's nothing if we don't have a lot of churches and graveyards.
I saw somewhere it's like Tennessee has like the highest per capita for churches of any state in the country.
What's really weird is it seems to be inconsistent. Like I live out in Lenore City, kind of in a suburb, older suburb, near the interstate. Not a lot of Pokestops from my house. I go to my parents' house down in Athens, which is a much smaller town, and there's like a Pokestop and a gym at the Mayfield's Dairy Farm Visitor Center, and there's a bunch of signs.
Company, what they did before they did, or not Ingress, the company.
Niantic,
yeah. What they did before they did Ingress, stuff like that, is they were the company for Google Maps that sourced all the walking route data and all the landmarks and stuff like that. So like they already have this data and database to build these things off of.
But it was weird. Like there's a park down the road from my parents' house, and like 3 or 4 signs in the park.
Oh yeah.
Had their own Pokestops. Like if I lived there,
one of the big ones in town is actually Trash Can Fountain. That's what it's labeled in Pokemon Go.
There's just that is what fascinates me more than anything, is where they're getting this information, because some of these things are just like, how do you like there's some wood carving that looks like it's in a yard near my parents' house that were on there. I was like, what even is this, and where would you get it? How would you get that in a database?
I love that at one of our graveyards there's 3 consecutive Pokestops deeper into the graveyard. Wow. And this isn't one of the like cared for. This is one of the like older, it's Mount Olive Cemetery. So it's like one of the older, not really, like nobody knows being buried there. Like you can probably find some historic graves there of significance, but it's not a super upkept one. And it's just like, do you really have the nerves to walk past, deep into this area with your phone and be occupied? And, not only the creepy aspect, but also the thing I'm worried about is, with the emphasis, especially in our area, on churches and graveyards. Churches is like a 50-50 of like,
they're nice public areas.
Sitting in the parking lot of this church right now, Sunday school's letting out and everything, like sitting there tapping my Pokemon. But also, I know one of those kids is playing it because that kid keeps retaking this gym. If I find that kid, I'm slapping the phone out of his hand, church or no. But a graveyard seems really wrong. Because, like, what if you, like, pull up and, like, hey, I just got to get this one little Snorlax, and, like, there's a funeral going on right now, but there's a Snorlax, but there's a funeral, but hold on, let me just swipe a couple. Crap, it got away. Now I got to walk around behind the funeral. Don't mind me, guys. I'm sure he was a great man. I'll just let me swipe. Okay, I got it. I'm out of here,
I'm also concerned about, like, kids. It's there's a Pokemon, like, right across the interstate over here. I know this is a news story waiting to happen. Some kid walks across the speeding interstate and gets hit.
I've seen that sort of commentary of, like, you're going around, there's all manner of problems that this can lead to. I mean, it's good that, it's making people get out and basically take a second look at some of the stuff around them, but at the same time, it's like, know that stuff still exists. Understand what that stuff is in the real world. Don't just get caught up in the game.
There's also the eggs that you can incubate, and that's based on how far you walk. So it's like getting people out.
You have an egg?
I do. I have 2 eggs.
How'd you get eggs?
One of the churches in the Pokestops.
I go to more churches. Okay. I haven't still gotten an egg yet.
Church attendance is just going to be booming now.
I did get an execute.
Yeah.
You know, the egg Pokemon.
Close. This is an actual egg. It looks like a Yoshi egg.
Which I named my execute Twitter. So I can't wait to like make him a leader of a gym somewhere. But anyway, we should press on.
We do have a Doduo out there by the black pickup truck.
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, well, I'll also quickly
fight for that after this podcast.
I'll quickly mention that I have been developing for the latest mini Ludum Dare a game called Express Lane, which is kind of a spin-off of my Bag Boy game, but it's kind of just like a queuing simulation. Really geeky stuff. So I just basically have a text display now for it, but I am working on a 3D.
I've seen the screenshots of this. Is this going to be like an idle game, or is this more of an active?
It's basically just a simulation right now. So you can actually
simulation.
You can increase the number of customers coming into your store, and then basically the simulation takes over. The people find which lane to get into. You can make certain lanes like express lanes, and you can turn them on and off, and you get like the amount of goods that you're selling per time, and then customers can get angry if the cashier is slow enough, and the cashiers have a rating, so they can either ring things up slowly or quickly. And also, they put things.
I did this, and it was Yogo Burger. Do the cashiers take tips? I guess is the question.
Yeah, the cashiers don't take tips.
And then can they spend their tips to bribe the customers for good reviews?
Every item has a price associated with it, and based on how fast they ring it up, the customer will or will not leave based on that.
That does seem interesting because it seems like to build this into a game, it's like figure out number of lanes open, which ones are express lanes. Give the player variables to tweak, but then you've got lots of alternate win conditions, like, make sure that all the,
I was thinking
cashiers are,
like, okay, in this period of time, you bring in this amount of money, or I could also like add
items per minute or something.
Yeah, I was thinking about having inventory added. So, you have to order new inventory because the people come in with a shopping list, and then if something's not on their shopping list in the store, then that lowers their happiness and they'll leave angry after that. So yeah, it's a fun little project. I'm just geek out over the queuing aspect of it. So it's like if I have so many customers in a lane, then another lane opens up, or somebody leaves this lane, then somebody will leave that lane and get into a shorter lane if the number of items in their cart matches the requirements for that express lane, if it is an express lane.
I've mostly been playing Overwatch still. Competitive mode's opening up, and I think I kind of hit a wall of like, oh man, I can't do it. Like, it gets too salty and too competitive and too
I heard that a lot
too hardcore and
a lot of
competitive.
different people I know playing Overwatch is like competitive mode is actually not that great. It's getting really toxic, and
well, it's never been that bad for me, but it's like you'll either like I started at 45 and I'm at like the mid to low 30s now. Like I just kept getting like creamed by a bunch of people, and that seems to be the way it goes. I don't know what you can do about that because they're averaging out players' rankings. The thing that's the thing that's tough about it is, one, it's more competitive, it's a little bit faster paced, and then a lot of times you do get the people who, well, you're all terrible, when you lose. And you're like, no, man, I was behind this other person healing them, and we were both on fire. I think I saw you in play of the game, but that was it, like...
what is the thing? You're supposed to be pushing the cart. What's the thing everybody young?
Payload. Push the payload.
Yeah. Like, where were you at the payload? Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, been putting one of my games on Google Play, building an electric fireworks launcher for the 4th. That was a big thing.
I saw your YouTube video or your Instagram on that.
Yeah, that was really cool. You get electric matches. We wired up a bunch of Ethernet. We built like a 60-foot cable and
only set the fireworks stand on fire twice.
That here's the thing. That was not us. That was us, but it wasn't my wiring. That was we bought these 2 boxes. We set them together. We tied them, really close together so we could connect them to the same electric match. It was the wireless system. No, but we only had 2 guides.
Is it worked in QA?
No.
On your machine.
Our system worked.
In live.
Our system worked. It was their system. It was the third-party system that had problems. Now, that may have been how we set it up, but, Yeah,
I was there. It was a very amazing firework display that... that's kind of one of the cool moments when you live in a state like Tennessee and you can set that kind of stuff off, because when we set off, it's not legal in a lot of places.
All right, I've been playing Star Ocean 5 on PS4, or Star Ocean Integrity and Faithlessness, I think is the subtitle they gave this one, which is coming off the heels. Star Ocean has really been a mainstay JRPG through the generations. And
now, is that Squaresoft, or?
It's Tri-Ace.
Tri-Ace.
I think it's part of the original Tales team, too, so there's very similar play
I played
styles.
one of the Star Ocean games, I think, for the Xbox 360. I remember I really liked that one. I can't remember which one it was, though.
The Last Hope, I think. Was
Last Hope. Yeah, that was
Edge
good.
Maverick.
Yes.
Yeah, they've only done one game per console generation. So this is their PS4 take on it, which is... it's not doing too well in critical review, but I've been having fun. I think I'm about 15 hours in, and it's been okay. I really like that you can have 7 people in your party at once in a battle. It gets really crazy and fun managing their AI and just the explosions and chaos. And then Final Fantasy XIV, I resubbed this month, which is, I played a lot when 2.0, A Realm Reborn had come out, and I was at max level for a while and then kind of died off interest for a while now. And now I'm just now getting into the expansion content, even though the expansion came out last year. There's a lot of stuff to catch up on that one. It's
that's like the one Final Fantasy game I've never played. I mean, I've even played a little bit of 11, played all the 13 trilogies, but never played 14.
I didn't get into 11, and then I just...
14 had a rocky start, though.
It did.
Yeah.
It had multiple relaunches.
I had bought the collector's edition back when it first came out, and I only played a week or two and gave up. But then they gave anybody who bought it, you had free access to 2.0 when it came out, and it really did well. It pulled me in from WoW, so I like Final Fantasy now.
We didn't introduce Joe, our newest member.
No, I realized that when he was talking. Welcome, Joe, to the podcast. So Joe's a new member of Knoxville Game Design. Makes a trip. I think he breaks Levi's record for driving distance.
Oh, yeah.
Coming in to make it to Knoxville. So welcome here and stay at the end. We'll talk about some of the games that Joe's made on app stores. You can play now. Kind of cool. I didn't mean to cut you off though. Are you?
I was going to say what I'm working on now is another side endless runner. I don't have a title yet. I call it Fur Fan. That's my project name. It's just Fantasy Endless Runner, FER. Let's going with that for now.
All right.
But it's
I mean, I was thinking fur. Is he furry? What's going?
FER.
Okay,
Kind of like
FER.
Fez,
Okay.
but fur.
Yeah, Fez the fur. Okay.
More like just a small. You tap the left side of the screen to parachute to slow fall, and tap the right side of the screen to shoot bow and arrow. And there's enemies coming out and blocks, and you can get power ups and stuff. And still working on all that, but it's going well. I just picked up last week a Mac laptop and an iPod, so I'm trying to get set up on iOS store. I've coming from Android and just working on converting them over, and the process is very different to get certified on the App Store. But I'm hoping to have stuff coming out on there by the beginning of August.
Oh, soon. Cool. Well, we already talked about Pokemon Go, so I'm not bringing it up again. But I played a bit of Paragon, which is the console MOBA. I mean, it's on PC as well. If you're PlayStation Plus, you're in the beta. You can go download it, and there's it's a free-to-play game. It does it properly where you don't buy heroes. All the heroes are included. and you're just really looks like cosmetics is what you're gonna pay for. You pay for experience boost that gets you stuff to buy cosmetics. So it seems okay in that front. It does have a level gating, like most MOBAs do. Like until you've played enough, you can't access the full thing. It's as a game designer, it might be worth looking into. I don't know that it necessarily results in a fun game, but there's a lot of mechanics happening. So the game has an entire deck building component to it. So instead of having a shop like other MOBAs where during the game, you get in-game gold, which is weird when you're talking about free to play, but in a match, okay, there's gold that you get during the match that goes away. It's just a resource in that match. It's not a resource that you carry over to buy hero skins and stuff. Most MOBAs, you take that gold and you go to a shop, which is a couple places on the map, and you can buy different power-up items that go into a few power-up slots, and you upgrade those as the game goes on to enhance or give yourself some extra abilities or do more damage or something like that. So like an example is like very early, you'll pick up like health regen and mana regen items because in the beginning that saves you trips back to the core, back to your base to refill your mana and something like that. And you can stay out in the field longer. It does the terrible MOBA thing of every individual character has their own leveling to do. You level characters individually. I liked Heroes of the Storm where you level as a team. So that less promotes a vitriolic sort of, because there are spots on the map that you get XP faster than other spots on the map. And then so it's like, well, all right, we let this character take it. So of course I'm under leveled because I wasn't on mid, I was, trying to jungle or, playing, bottom or something. Which for reasons based on the map and the way the map spawn doesn't give you as much XP as the others. So they do that. I wish I wouldn't do that. The replacement of the shops, with this deck building thing is weird because it's not like you're drawing a card in the game. You have all cards as an option, and you get card points, which are these that you can spend to put these cards into play. So you build your deck of all the things you may want to have, and then you put up to 6 cards in play at once, but then the cards themselves have different upgrades on a card that you spend card points into. So it's a massive amount of complexity of figuring out how to build out a character and play a character, in addition to leveling the character up and what of your 5 abilities do you spend points on? And do you do this one before that one? Do you just race to put all the points into an ultimate before you round out all 5 of your abilities? Do you ignore an ability? Is it situational on a match? It's amazingly complicated. And then there's still more terrible mode things like last hitting is still important. So like in Dota and League of Legends, if you get the last hit on a NPC mob, okay, a creep, then you get more gold or more experience from that last hit. Not the most damage, but the last hit. So now you can be in a situation where you're kill sniping from your own team to try to get the gold or the card points to level up, your next thing. And it's like this, come on guys, this is why these games are toxic the way they are, is because there's all this infighting and there's all these systems that are working. So I like this third person character action view on the MOBA. It makes the world feel a lot cooler. It feels kind of like a Team Fortress type map, although it looks really much more detailed and all that, and it could be something, but it's just such a cut and paste systems work without stopping to think of since we're changing it from top down RTS game engine to third person engine, what makes sense and what doesn't, and rethink it. And in a lot of ways, even though Blizzard kept Heroes of the Storm top down, they at least stopped and thought and okay, we're going to level the team, not the characters, because that will promote some teamwork. We're going to put objectives on the map rather than just the same game every time over and over again. I don't expect Paragon to stick. I don't think it's going to be a major player. I think it's going to have its audience that plays it. It's free, so you can just pick it up and go, but I don't think it's going to stick around. But if you're a game designer and you just want to look at a plethora of game mechanics and systems, it's got it. There's also a good reason of why not to do that.
Makes it sound like it's targeting a more hardcore demographic than Heroes does.
But like that may be intentional. Demographic hasn't shown a propensity to leave Dota or League of Legends. Like wherever they're at, it's like that's their game.
It is true.
Because once you have, they only have, I think, 30, maybe it's 25. They don't have many heroes. But once you hit 100 heroes, learning this hero versus 100 other heroes, like your fighting game, you got 16 fighters. You learn this fighter versus all the other 16. That takes a certain amount of time. Learning the combinations of 5-man versus 5-man from a pool of 100, there's a lot more depth. So those people are way invested into those ecosystems than to jump out and switch to a different one. Plus,
the cash aspect too. League accounts are worth, thousands of dollars.
The international was like $10 million this last was the pot people were into for the Dota tournament. So that's going to be rough. There's some unbalanced things. There was a hero, I called him Batthulu. But it was like a Cthulhu looking like Hulk guy with like bat wing arms. And he moves really fast on the map. And the thing is that he moves faster than 90% of the other heroes. And so you could just walk up and keep spamming the punch button and they can't walk away or do anything. It's just like once this guy, you're full health and he has a leap attack. So once he leaps from behind you or beside where you didn't see him coming and he leaps on you, you're dead. And you're going to die in the worst way possible. You're just going to keep getting punched over and over again until you run out because you can't run away because he moves too fast. And so it's like, that's a weird thing to have, and it's like, how does this guy get balanced out? Because he's also a tank with a ton of health. So you can just be, he's right in front of you. You're just shooting you're unloading into him. Unless you're a character that has a huge ultimate one-shot kill thing and it's up at the moment he jumps at you, it's over. So there's a lot of work to be done in that game. It didn't help that their new hero announced is a generic knight named like Gray Sword or something. Like it's like the most like, did you just hit a fantasy name generator combination? Paladin named Gray Sword. Okay, there we go in the game. Like there's not it doesn't have like the personality Overwatch does on the heroes to really feel like you can get behind them.
And that does seem even like something like League of Legends that has that complexity. I guess Dota as well. It has that complexity, but it also has the characters that make people want to care about the complexity.
My daughter, my middle daughter, we were playing it, and she was like 12 when she was playing Dota with us all together. But she just really loved Tiny, and to the point where, like, when I was out, I bought her one of the little tiny porcelain figurines. Tiny is a little tiny rock dude that carries a tree trunk and beats people with a tree trunk. And the tree trunk is like 8 times his size. And so he makes like a nice, interesting character design and figure. And it's just, that's missing from this game. There's just a lot of generic bow, generic caster, generic, hey, there's your Edgelord Reaper character. So, all right. Well, at this point, we're going to get into Fran Bow. We're going to let Levi kick us off here and his thoughts and notes on this 2D adventure game.
Yes, adventure game. So I didn't have any idea what this was really going to be coming into it. I finished it in 2 sittings. It took me around 6 hours, and this was developed by Kill Monday Games. And I actually looked into this group. It's a 2-person development team, a guy and a girl, and from Sweden. I'm not sure if they're married or what the relationship is there, but like he does the programming and she does all the art assets and things like that. And that reminded me of the very first adventure game that I ever played, which was King's Quest VI, and that was also
Roberta Williams,
a 2-person team. So it's kind of the same thing going on there. So I do like some adventure games. They aren't like my forte or anything, but probably my favorite adventure game was the Space Quest series. I think the first one that I played was Space Quest 4. So it was a little bit more humorous in a space science fiction environment. It had really great voice acting in it by Gary Owens. He was the voice of Laugh-In from the 70s, and he just passed away not too long ago, a year or 2 ago. And actually, I will say they're actually developing a new game in the same vein of Space Quest as the Andromeda Space Adventure. So that's still in the green light. They're working on it.
It was kickstarted a couple years back, but I don't think it's shipped yet. Yeah.
So I didn't back it, but it's another one I'll pick it up whenever it comes out. So I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Didn't sound good about Fran Bow because you spent a lot of time talking about all these other adventure games.
Yeah, like your history, playing adventure games.
I think it has its good points. I also played Monkey Island on the Xbox 360. It really wasn't my thing, but it's kind of in the same, it's kind of dry humor that I didn't get. But so when I came into this, I saw some of the screenshots. I thought it was going to be like a new Maniac Mansion, which I thought was a pretty good game on the NES. Word I've never really used in a conversation, but macabre. I think it's macabre but charming. So I thought it was going to be the same as that. But the first chapter of the game is just like, seems like it was just overly gross to me. I mean, especially with the pills going into the alternative world. And it reminded me of some anime, kind of like Dead Man Wonderland or Parasite. It's like, I'm really digging the story and everything. Then it just gets too gross, just gross for the sake of being gross. Some of the things about the interface I didn't like, the text choices, it really didn't seem to make a difference on whether I picked the left or right choice. It seems like you always selected the left choice to advance the story, and like the right choice was just like goodbye or whatever like that. And the selecting the items felt kind of backwards to traditional adventure games because you actually had to select the item first and then pick whether you want to examine or combine or whatever. Typically, you press like the I key or whatever, and then...
Or like change your cursor. Like you scroll through like your cursors and you'd have like an examine cursor or something. That was a point that I basically felt as well.
I do wonder if that's something that has changed. Like, I think we all kind of played like King's Quest and stuff like that, but from what little I understand of like the modern adventure genre,
not really. I still play these. These are couch co-op games in our family. Okay. So like two people sit on the couch and you kind of piece it together. And no, that's like I expect to be able to like scroll my mouse wheel and scroll through my cursors now.
I think I tried to drag and drop to combine at first, and I was trying to.
Yeah.
I didn't get to like click one, then combine, then click the other. Or I was more used to like maybe a UI element somewhere that you would have just put things together and had it be intuitive. It didn't feel intuitive.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they could have worked that out a little bit better. But for my first playthrough, played for about 2 hours on the first chapter. It was really hard for me to come back to the game. I was like, well, I don't want to break my streak of completing these podcast games. I played till like 8 a.m. this morning, wrapped it up. I am glad that I did come back to it, though. The second chapter was still kind of weird and gruesome. Third chapter I really liked. I mean, it's kind of like when you go up into the sky and you meet the tree world and everything. I thought that was really well done. And also I liked how they built upon the switching of the worlds, because like in the first two chapters you have the pill that takes you into the alternative world. In the third chapter you actually had the little device that you can use to switch to seasons, which also changes the world in a different way. Also, in the third world, I thought the tic-tac-toe game was annoying to get the coins to give to the blacksmith and the clockmaker. But once I found out the correct way to beat the AI is pretty reliable. And
it wasn't like perfect. Like you couldn't find like a gimmick of like, oh, I get a coin every time I do this. But yeah, there was like start in a corner or something, and you can get the AI to make a bad move. But if you played for the center aggressively, then the AI would tie you every time.
Exactly, because I'm always going for the center, and that really didn't work out for me. But I also found out you pretty much had to go first to win. I mean, if I ever
it seemed second. Like it, yeah, that was another step of the...
And I'm jumping around here in my notes or in the game. In the very first chapter, I noticed a lot of references to like 1944, so I didn't know if there's like any tie-in to World War II, or if it's just set in that time period for the sake of being in that time period. Also, I liked the hide puzzle, the very first puzzle in the game. I thought that was really well done because you could go to the paper and check that out and see the actual how to actually decode that and open the box and get the key. Okay, I'll save that for the end. And also the notorious month and day puzzle, the December 17th and July 25th. I spent some time with that. I knew it was like some combination of 7 and 25, or July for 7 and 12 for December. I didn't think of adding them up together, so I had to get a hint on that to figure that one out.
So, I mean, I have like an additional gripe on that, because if you look at the sheet that was in your hand with that on there,
the little 31,
it looked like a 31 was crossed out.
Yeah.
Which it should have been 32 crossed out for July 7, 25. Add them together, you get 32. That's the first, or that's the second or first part of the code. But since you crossed out 31, it's like, well, that's not it. 31 is one piece of the solution. So if that's 31, what is December, whatever it was, December 7th or whatever, like December 9th, whatever the other part is, like it can't just be 12 plus 9, because it's not 7 plus 30.
I kept feeling like I was missing something, like an item or a book. It's like, oh, there must be something to tell me how to pull this information together to use it on the alarm. Like, oh.
And also the calendar was sort of misleading for me in that situation too, because when you're in the office and you look at the calendar and she's like, oh, there's October and November on this calendar and we must be in October. And it's like, okay, well, since they explicitly called that out, maybe this 2 months and days thing, I'm supposed to shift somehow to October, November. I had to fact it as well. And I was really pissed when I did, because it's like, because of that 31, like that was my first spot I was going to. And it's like, you explicitly shut down.
And I didn't
7,
I think what gave it away for me was there wasn't a 0. So I think when I tried the 12, 19 or something, but then there was no way to do 07 for July.
Yeah.
And then it just got me thinking numbers, and I just tried it. I think it was like the 5th thing I tried. That was
to add them together.
Yeah. I had thought, well, the 12, 19 didn't work. There's no 07, maybe 29. Like, yeah, okay.
So, I mean, the reason that I wasn't trying it is because I was certain that 31 was part of the code, because that was the bit you could read to the scratch out.
Yeah.
And if they just made that scratch out 32, this puzzle works. Like, everything's fine. It's not the only point where this game, I feel like, either through bad design and oversight or intentionally making a puzzle harder by trying to mislead either.
Yeah. Because, like, one bad puzzle, after that point, it's like, okay, I'm getting a walkthrough and just using walkthrough and blazing through the rest of this. But, yeah, I didn't know if the 31 was significant because it's kind of scratched out. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'm supposed to, if this is a part of the puzzle or not. Also wanted to mention, so I'm jumping around in the game again. At the very end of the game, I really liked the waiting room scene where they got all like the demons in there and they're like have their tickets. That reminded me of the old Maniac Mansion that I liked.
That definitely had some humor and stuff to that moment.
And the cookie music, the waiting room music, I love that. And so if that was the whole game, I would have loved the game.
It reminded me of Beetlejuice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I am glad that you did play all the way through it, and I'm glad that you Joe has too, because the game changes drastically.
Oh yeah.
Like if you just sat down for a couple hours and played this game, you would have a much different opinion on what this is. Like if you never got to like the Sky Zone.
Yeah. Yeah, it completely changed in Chapter 3 for me. I did like the changing between the worlds. We talked about that a little bit, but I did like the fact that even some of the items in your inventory changed when you went to the pill world, like the picture of your family, like their eyes are...
I never noticed that.
Yeah.
As much detail. I spent like 9 hours in this game checking all the different things and reading all the text and everything, and I never noticed the inventory items changed.
I don't think it served a purpose, but it changed, which I was like, okay.
It was a nice touch.
They thought about that, yeah. And I talked about a little bit this on my live stream, but like right before the puzzle with the date, you go into the room with the fetuses and everything, and they talk about, oh, this fetus never had a chance to live. I was like, oh, is this like pro-life values being added into the game?
I wrote down that note, and I didn't put it in my compiled notes. Like I wasn't going to leave it. I was like, okay, maybe not. Maybe I'm overreading.
I don't want to get political discussions or anything.
I don't want to get political discussion. I'm going to leave it out. But you had... You saw the same thing, and you had the same reaction I did. And I think the game designers are more like, ooh, dead babies, that's scary. Mm-hmm. Here's dead children. But we're not paying attention. I think this is if you're not paying attention and you're not thinking about it and you're not getting diverse feedback and other people to come look at it and play your game and feedback, you're going to miss that. Do you realize you're making pro-life, pro-choice, whatever commentary in this game? You don't intend to.
You might not be making it. You said they were from where?
It's in one of the. It's in the hospital. You go to Horror View, then you talk to a dead child, and it's like, I never was even born.
Well, you said the developers were from
Sweden, so I don't know if this is an issue in Sweden or not. I don't know if they're polarized.
Well, diversity.
It might not be like in America. That is a very polarized topic, and so anytime you inch close to it, or anytime someone can,
because in the next room is when you flip, there's a skeleton with an umbilical cord down to a baby. And it's just something poor mother. And then you get the idea that this pregnant mother killed herself, hung herself while she was pregnant. Okay? Right. And then that's what, like, maybe sort of back off of, like, okay, maybe they're not making this an explicit, like, I was killed because I was an abortion.
Right.
Maybe they're like, my mother died with me in the womb and I didn't get to be born.
That definitely sounds like where it was
That's why I kind of crossed it off. But when Levi had the exact same reaction, I went, no, I'm not invalid in having this thought.
But no, cultural American context is like, if someone gets close to that topic, that must be what they're trying to talk about.
And I think the point I'm making is that if they intended it, okay. But if they did not, if they're like, wow, listening to this and like, well, we didn't mean that at all. Like, that's where you got to get outside your box and have some other people look at it and consider some different things, because the way you look at it is not the way everybody else is going to see it, and you may be putting something in it that's going to like communicate a political message you didn't mean, or make some weird value thing that you didn't mean, and it's like, I don't want that in there. And so it's like, you could fix it with like a line or two of dialogue, and it's like, okay, something else happened, and that's why I
think that's important to us as developers, like things that may not be controversial to us. In other cultures, that could be like a thumbs up is like giving somebody the bird in like some places. So you really got to watch out, especially like swastikas. It's like, we can put swastikas in games and everything. It's kind of controversial, but it's like against the law in Germany. So.
Yeah. So I wasn't going to mention that, but then you had the same reaction, and I was like, okay, there's some merit to this conversation.
You sometimes have to get way outside your box, further outside than you would think to kind of vet these things.
Yeah.
I did like after every chapter there was a little mini game, like a stealth action game or a Frogger type game. I thought that kind of broke up the click and point and all that. Made a joke. I thought Fran Bow may be best experienced after drinking lots of Strongbow, an alcoholic beverage. So, not related to the game itself, but I think I sent Mike a tweet on this. It's like, after I did my live stream of the first chapter of Fran Bow, I got a YouTube copyright claim just because it had a siren sound.
Yes.
It's like, how can you get a copyright claim?
Some disco mashup or whatever, like with the air horn noise.
Yeah, because it had a prison alarm siren in it, and I got copyright claimed on it. So I was like, okay, go ahead and delete that out of my video, but okay. So that's my thoughts on Fran Bow. I thought it was okay. It was a unique experience, I'll give it that. Not typically a game that I would play, but something different.
It didn't turn out to be what I expected it to go in. I give it that. So
it was definitely, I went in like I saw the screenshots, but I didn't watch the trailer, so I didn't really know what I was getting into, but I did like it.
We should say, because we keep saying like none of us knew what it was going in. This was Jacob, the younger kid who picks games. Well, I'm just explaining how he got here. And he suggested it, and I played the video, and then screenshots were like, okay, looks interesting. Because I was like tired of us playing really difficult platforming type games. So I was like, we need a break from that for a moment. And this is a click and point adventure, and you can't have a bigger break than that. And so it's like, yes, let's make it the game. And unfortunately, they've had a death in the family, so they can't be here to record it. I don't know if Jacob played it. I don't know if Jeffrey knew what it was. I think it was a Game Maker game. I think, Joe, you said that. It was a Game Maker game. And so it probably appeared on email when it went out, and that's where Jacob remembered it from, so he probably didn't see the context of it either. But I would definitely give like a parental warning on the game. It's not too terrible of like, oh no, you can't. Absolutely. But you should definitely be aware of the context and the subject matter that's going on and the art and the imagery used to portray it before like a younger kid's playing this game.
There's a lot of slicing,
very
cut up bodies.
Very gore.
I don't know if you're going to mention this, but
2D art style
slitting
gore.
of wrist of a 10-year-old girl. I mean, that's
there's a lot of like really dark stuff implied or spelled out sometimes.
Satanic rituals. Like, I really don't want to play this.
But it's in a nice 2D cartoony art style.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there you go. You would think.
So, yeah, so I definitely don't think it's an immediate allow a kid to play it, but I think it could be played by a kid, depending on the parent, depending on the circumstances.
Would you let them watch a gory horror movie?
It's not as bad as the gory horror movie.
But
I don't
would
know.
it give them nightmares, I guess?
You're going to have some
nightmares
conversations that, like slitting wrists, and like what's implied by all of that, and going on there. And also, like, beyond that, like, we're talking abuse of children sexually is in the game too. Like, that's backstory in the game as well. So I would put its content of subject matter worse than its actual gore. And that's what I was getting at. Of like, play that. No, hit the mic. Sorry.
We have to field some hard questions.
Yeah.
I mean, it did remind me of like some anime, which they do show on television with the cut up bodies and all that.
So the first time I actually had to go to the FAQ was to use the typewriter to adjust the recipe on chapter 2. That did not seem obvious to me at all. I think I
Guess what I got a note on? Took a long time to figure out to use the recipe for the typewriter, and it was clear in hindsight, right? That's adventure game logic. Like, okay, it makes sense in hindsight, but before it didn't do it. And I think if they had typed the recipe list on that sheet, I think that would be enough. Like, everyone I have a complaint about a puzzle, I have a suggestion, right? Change the 31 to a 32. This one, I would put a fixed font to make it look like it came from a typewriter for the recipe list.
Because even after you typed it on there, it looked different.
It looks different. And, I think it's a joke, but I can see where, like, you would never put those together. Because that took a long time for me to figure that one out. A
dialogue line from the twins might have been something like, remember, we have to do exactly what the recipe says or something. So, to kind of give more critical thought to what the paper was.
Or paper actually says, yeah.
I think that the first chapters, even though they were the darker and gorier ones, I think they were the better end of the game for me. Like, gameplay-wise, I feel like the puzzles and everything got a little bit easier. I don't know, or if it just got more obvious on what to do, but I think they tailored off the item combination thing. I don't remember having to use that in chapter 4 or 5 for much.
I think 4 and 5 were significantly shorter than the previous 3 chapters.
4 and 5 got into a lot of fetch quest type
4
items.
was only
like,
a
go
couple
and
rooms.
you found the key. Okay, you got the key.
There's so many keys in that last level.
Yeah.
Like, get a key and a key and a key.
And a key.
Oh my goodness.
But they were really
puzzle to it.
Quick. Yeah. The first couple chapters, I feel like there was a lot more rooms. There was upstairs, downstairs. There was the dark world, the regular world, and there was more involved. And then towards the end, it felt more just like it was story. So the puzzle was an afterthought to the design. The second time I had to go to the FAQ was to move the log to let the cat in the hut to get to the dance, the ticket. Mm-hmm. I spent probably an hour just clicking on everything on the island trying to figure out how to get in that building.
Yeah.
Didn't realize that all you had to do was click the log to move it out of the way. Yeah. I realized after a while that if you went into your inventory to use an item, then you could mouse over and kind of find what in the room was interactable. Because there wasn't really any clue on what you could click on. So the first couple chapters, I think I was just kind of click spamming everywhere on the screen just to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Common to be able to hit like tab and get like a highlight view.
Yeah, outlines.
Like, this is the things I can click on. They may or may not be items. It may just be descriptionals. But just so you don't, like, there was some stuff that I missed that I got pissed about because it's like I clicked on a lot of things. I didn't have to click on that. So like in chapter 2, you walk by that pile of junk. I think you very quickly clicked on the door. You had the door in your inventory like immediately. I clicked all around. I played the piano. I did all the things. I never got the door. So then using the door to get the well open took a really long time because I didn't know that was a thing I could have clicked on to pick up because it's a pile of trash.
No, yeah, there's no indicator that you had...
That this trash could be picked up and the rest of the trash is decoration.
Because I remember I was following my walkthrough, and that's when I came back for my second playthrough. I was like, oh, use the door. And it's like, go back to the first room and pick up the door. It's like, where is it? Oh, it's already in my inventory. So I guess I picked that up at the end of my
You
first
picked it up like as soon as you got there. And I remember I'm like, oh, that sucks. Because I had a door handle before I had a door.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then another thing... I don't know if this was just me, but I memorized that phone number before you had to call it on the thing, and then you open it up and it was already displayed right next to it.
I did, like, I have a complaint somewhere in here. I don't know where it's at. The number of times there was, like, a sequence or a number or something that you could view, but you couldn't view looking at the puzzle, right? Like the mixing the chemicals and all that stuff. Like, I wrote that note down of how much that was pissing me off. And the very next puzzle was the phone number, and it put the card right on the screen. I'm like, you're kidding me. You guys you're killing me here.
Yeah, I spent like 10 minutes going like 219. Okay. Then I was like, all right, I'm ready. I've got it memorized. And then it was displayed.
I got to say, that was one of my favorite parts of the game. When you go down to the skeleton nurse and it's like, oh, do you have an appointment? No, we'll call this number. So you go upstairs, call back down. And it's like, okay, can I set an appointment? Yes. Then you go back down. It's like, oh, I have an appointment now. That's like straight comedy, Maniac Mansion type stuff that I like.
Yes, it's a good setup too.
One of the things I did like graphically, like when you went into rooms, they would be like out of focus for a second and then come in. That was like kind of set my hair on edge, I guess, and it was definitely getting the creepy vibe.
Yeah, I noticed through the whole game there's like that little black border around, so the game doesn't go all the way to... Yeah, exactly. So that was a nice touch.
And probably my favorite thing in the beginning there was just using the pills, and like the first time you're in a new room and you just don't know what's going to pop out.
Oh, yeah.
It was mostly gruesome, but it kept me like entertained. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat, but it was creepy. I wanted to know what were they going to do next. What was this room going to turn into?
I wish the pills were involved in puzzles more than they were. There's only a few times where you use the pills to solve a puzzle. And there wasn't many times where you could use the pills and see a hint that you didn't see in the other world. It was mostly like you go in here and then you talk to the spooky things and you find out the history of this character or what's wrong with them, but you actually execute everything you need to be a puzzle in the normal view. I like the mechanic. I really think it's like a cool, and again with the season shift was a nice, interesting, unique mechanic they brought to.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of Link to the Past, just being able to do things in
one world and then
world
shift
A
to the
and
other.
shift to world B and see what.
There was some room for improvement. It was like when you go up and talk to the mage or the master wizard, whatever, on the mountain, it's like, okay, he has his door open in the winter, but no other season. I didn't see, why do you have your door when it's open when it's cold outside, but no other season?
And I was kind of surprised that all the puzzles that they did do, where it took you into a screen to do the puzzle, they were all just one-off. Only one, like fixing the cogs on the clock, the little sliding puzzle. I liked that. I was just kind of surprised that they spent time to develop these puzzle mechanics and then only used them once.
Yeah.
I thought maybe they would have done like a smaller intro one and then like a harder.
That one kind of frustrated me at first because I was trying to line up the cogs and it's like, oh yeah, you got to have the little small cog at the bottom, and there wasn't anything that really indicated that this cog goes in this place.
I think it's kind of a good amount of restraint, though, to not, like, okay, we develop a slide puzzle engine, and, like, if it's a AAA game, you know, we're going to use it at every door lock. It's going to be playing this minigame, you know? You're going to hack the computer by playing this minigame, you know? So it's a good amount of restraint, but they could have done it a couple more times, and I think what you said would be the way to do it, of, like, here's, like, a much simpler slide before we, like, throw you into, because it was a 4x4 16, or maybe it was a 5x5 slide. Like, it was not a small amount of slide.
A fixed
and there were some fixed points, and if that was your introduction to a slide puzzle concept, there was a lot thrown at you at once.
There is actually an indie game called Cogs that came out a few years ago where it's like 3D and you spin around this cube and you put the cogs. It's the exact same game. So if you're into cog sliding action, check out Cogs.
But I enjoyed it. So I mean, it took me about 8 hours to play through. I can tell from the Steam achievements that there are some different things that can happen. Just reading the descriptions on them that I didn't see happen.
Yeah, because I was using the guide, so I was picking those up as I went. Like if you check off one of the components when you're making the chemistry set and you check that off, I think that gives you an achievement. Then not to use the syringe immediately at the end, you close the door and then there's like a picture on the wall. You can look at it and I think you get an achievement for that as well.
Oh, wow.
It's not enough to make me want to replay it though.
I don't think this is something I would replay. I took 8 to 9 hours to play through it the first time, and a lot of that was because I was really trying to read all the descriptions and, get all the content out of it. Because overall I was liking the story, but I did play it on a GOG DRM free version, so I don't think I have any achievements whatsoever. There might be a menu in game I can see them, but there was no pop-ups because I bought it on sale on GOG the week before it went on sale on Steam on the Steam sale.
There was one hidden achievement when you meet the skeleton guy, which I can't remember, is it Mr. Ingway or something like that? Mm-hmm. And you're in the little flying contraption and thing. There's an arcade machine, right next to his little pedal bike there. And one of the hidden achievements is to break the arcade machine. My guide says, you just play it 3 times and defeat the boss. I played that stupid arcade game, and it's just like a little Space Invaders, but I played it 4 or 5 times.
Oh, wow.
And each time I played it, there's 3 levels, and it just never
I
did
remember
pop.
playing it once and thinking okay, this might be a thing, and then never getting back to it.
And the controls were kind of weird. You had the one joystick and it auto shoots for you, but just getting the joystick to move in the right way was a little awkward at first for me.
Oh, okay, my notes. Overall, initially it had a very dark Alice, very similar to American McGee's Alice vibe.
There was an Alice reference.
There was an explicit one, later.
I was thinking when you went down into the door on the second chapter, that was kind of like Alice in Wonderland right there. When you take the door that you find at the beginning, it's that's kind of like going through.
That's the point where this game really stopped being Dark Alice to me, and was really Pan's Labyrinth, which is a Guillermo del Toro film. If you've not seen it, it's an amazing little film. Set in a very similar time frame. It's set in a World War II era. Set in Mussolini's Spain, and the father is killed in the war, and the mother is there's a general or something in that has his eye on her, and she's basically for me and my daughter, this keeps us out of the camps and everything. So I'm gonna marry the man that killed her husband, and the story Pan's Labyrinth is through the vision of Pan. And she goes into this really alternate reality, creepy horror monsters. But in Fran Bow, in Pan's Labyrinth, the grotesque features or whatever don't really determine evil or good. It's more often in Pan's Labyrinth, the really grotesque looking thing is good and helping Pan, and the humans, the normal people, are the evil ones in her world, because that's who's really doing her harm and ruining her world and all that stuff, is people, and the monsters are good. And so the movie sort of, I don't want to spoil it, has a good ending to it. But especially when they started going down the well in chapter 2, because that's where Pan goes into her fantasy world. She goes down this well, and then there's a tunnel at the bottom of it, and with a little door, and she's in her little creepy snake, disgusting fantasy world with its game. I don't know if they developers took any inspiration from that, but it lines up really strong. The mental hospital is scary. Is a really overused trope in horror. I was at least glad to see they didn't stay there. They left. Yes. Because too often that's just crazy people who are scary, it's just a bad trope that's overused. And I'm kind of not thrilled when I see that again, The gameplay is a very simple click-and-point adventure system. The game relies heavily on its story and art, which is okay. It's well drawn, and the story is well told. The dialogue is well written, except for the ending. I don't know what you guys thought. I just thought the ending completely threw off the rails, made zero sense of what was going on, of any of it.
I kept thinking never-ending story. I mean, the big dog creature, she flies off into the clouds.
And it's just like, that didn't fit anything. I was expecting, and I'm okay that they subverted my expectations, but I was expecting her to, like, wake up in the hospital, and, you know, she's been in a coma, or, like, turns out, like, this is... I mean, it's implied at one point that she did kill her parents, or at least her body did.
That was confusing.
Under the control of the evil spirits.
Yeah.
But I was waiting for the reveal of, like, no, she killed her parents, and, like, this is her method of coping. The game is dark enough to have gone there. But this never-ending story ending with all the things, and they just start talking about time and multi-dimensional universes.
I kind of like the idea that maybe she never did leave the asylum, and when you have that scene where she's talking to herself and tied to the bed, and you kind of get a glimpse of her still in the asylum there, and then because you found that gun way back in chapter 1 in the nurse's cabinet, that maybe this whole thing was her 3-day coma that she was in post
the pills that knocked her out, and
and that, like, maybe whatever happened there, that last scene is her attacking her aunt when she comes to visit and getting shot by the doctor.
There's nothing in the text to support that reading.
No, I just kind of, I think there's
it's like
I read
Mass
up
Effect indoctrination theories. Like, I'm sorry, but there's nothing in the game to support the theory as much as you might like to believe that's the answer.
Well, that's just the only gun we saw was in that room, and maybe she was chained to her bed, and that was it. Like, everything just is. But then there was also the thought that the bicycle in chapter 4, when she crashes in the woods, like, there are the remnants of the bicycle, so maybe she was just riding her bike through the woods.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, maybe she's dying in the woods, you know? And then,
the
like,
original...
And they did say that, like, she froze in the woods after, like, her parents were slaughtered. And I was like, okay, I'm not understanding how all this lines up together.
Well, they didn't explain it yet.
Yeah, the ending didn't help.
And it's like, I don't need a nice bow on, like, the explanation. I like some open-ended questions. But, like, you didn't even go for, like, a direction, or even, like...
Is she alive? Is she dead? Is
like
this
I said,
real?
you got on Falcor and you rode off, and it's just like multi-dimensions and time travel and all is real, and what is going on? Yeah. Okay. Like, all right. Mechanics. I sort of group up my notes as I tend to do. So mechanics and systems. Yay for autosave.
Yes.
The game had autosave, and I much appreciate that. Like, there's no reason for me to have to, like, deal with saves. And then, of course, if you have saves in a system like this, then you start save scumming, because scum VM, that's where we get the term from, of like, oh, like you were talking about Ken and Roberta Williams. They're notorious for like, oh, did you miss this item on the third screen at the very beginning? Sorry, you've lost the game. You won't know that for 8 hours, though. So at least auto-saving not only takes it away, you don't have to worry about it, but just tells me we're not doing that because you don't have access to a save system to even go back in time. So don't worry about it. If you miss something, you'll be able to go back and get it. We won't let you miss something critical. There is weird adventure game logic that needs explanation, and that wasn't there. Like, you got some black candles and you got some matches. And there's many times I wanted to combine them. Heck, you go into a dark room at one point, like, hey, I need to light this room before I could do it. Well, I have matches and I have a candle.
Yeah.
And I think, just some better dialogue other than, like, this doesn't work, or can't do this, or I can think of another path. Like, these are generic. If they put some custom work into that to say, like, I think I should save these candles for something else, would tell me, okay, that's not a solution to the puzzle, that I'm just doing wrong. Do I have to combine the candles to the matches or the matches to the candles? Do I have to try to set the candles down, then light them? Am I just not figuring out your order of operations? If you were to put a line of dialogue that just indicated that's not it, you tried it, congratulations, but it's not it, then...
Like these candles are filled with black magic and can only be used in seances or whatever. Just something to imply that.
Or, like, hey, I don't think the candle will give me enough light. Because you end up flipping a light switch in that room. Pixel hunting seemed mostly absent, but it does appear. And then we talked about needing a method to highlight everything, and I missed the door because, it just was the scenery. It's not too bad in that. Like, most things that you expect to be able to interact with, you just interact with, and there's not too many situations where it's like, this is just hidden in the scenery. I mean, it's not a hidden object game, so there were many key loops, and some of them quite literal. So a key loop in game design is when you come up to a door or something that gates your progress, and you do a big thing that leads you back in a circle back to that door, and then you unlock it. And it's like, these are bad game-wise because I just feel like I wasted a lot of time because I made no progress. I just did a whole bunch of little side stuff to move on. I'm not moving forward. And some of these were quite literal of like getting to a locked door and needing to find the key. And I felt like this kind of padded the time. The wizard ritual is a really good example of this bad design because in the wizard ritual, you were doing it with the facts, so it sped up a lot for you.
Yeah. I just remember going up to that mountain like 10 times.
Yes.
Like, okay, again.
You'll collect 5 items.
Can I get a little warp up here to the top of the mountain or something?
You collect 5 items, and you arrange them, okay? 5 keys, basically. You get them, and you get your 5 keys. And like, okay, let's do the thing. Now, for each key you got, go get another key. And I'm like, I've gone up and down this stupid mountain so many times in the same zone, and this is the same puzzle I just did. It was find 5 items, talk to this person. Will you give me the item I need? No. Okay, let me figure out how I got to get in there. The ticket. Like, so what frustrated me about getting into the dancer to get the dancer shoes, right? To get into the dance hall, I had messed with the wood in the right season. I think I just got lucky. And so I knew I could get in the back there. But it was that I had tried to combine the crayon with my ticket.
Yeah, I thought of that.
Numerous times. I'm like, well, I have it. It calls it a ticket. I got a crayon that for some reason didn't get taken out of my inventory, but everything else did. And it won't let me combine it until I have seen another ticket. And again, dialogue would have felt a lot better here of like, if it just would have said, well, it's like, well, I could make this into a ticket, but I don't know what one looks like. Mm-hmm. Then I was like, okay, I understand why I'm looking for a ticket now. I understand why I'm going for all this. But because it was just like, that doesn't work. Oh, now it works. And it's like, why does it work now? Like you're not explicitly telling me because I saw this other ticket. It seems really arbitrary.
My misled on that one was that the wizard mentions that he has a ticket that he won't let you have. So I was starting to think that I had to steal the wizard's ticket
or get
find
him
it
to get it to you somehow.
In his room somewhere. Yeah. And then the second part of that was I went and looked at the Steam achievement text at some point, and I'd seen that there was a Steam achievement for giving back a stolen ticket. So that really double reinforced I was trying to steal steal the wizard's ticket. And
I did give back the ticket. I didn't know there was an achievement or anything for it. I did give it back, but I can see, again, misleading.
And then, I had no idea. I was way off by the time I had gone to look and see that I just had to move that and send the cat in there. I didn't think of that as an option at all. I don't think we had done that with the cat yet.
Have we played with the cat at that point?
I think you get like a rock or something that you put it in the cog. So
we hadn't been able to like send the cat in somewhere.
Yeah, I did like the. I'll probably have a note later, but I did like the sequences. The mini games breaking up, but also playing as a cat for a bit, because the most times you did that, at one point you pick up Fran's purse and you have the inventory, but before you do that, like you don't have any inventory, and it's just like a nice little like mental relief of like, I'm the cat. I have no inventory. There's nothing to combine with nothing, or like the cat can carry one thing at a time. So the puzzles are going to have to be a lot simpler at this moment, and it was just a nice pacing break from having like 7 items in my inventory and not knowing where these things go or what to do. The worst key loop in the game is the shovels, because I don't know if you remember or not. you do a lot of garbage with bugs in the shed and going out and figuring out to slash open the seat cushions and take a leather strap so the bugs can mate, I guess, is what you're doing. I mean,
back and the pine cones.
Yeah, the pine cone. I don't want to know what the bugs are doing with the leather and the pine cones, but it's okay.
It's like, oh, here's a shovel.
Yeah, it's not for our podcast.
But then the shovel wasn't even there.
The shovel wasn't even there. Yeah. All you had to do was kill time. And then the world's worst psychiatrist, I think I have it noted somewhere down, of just like, anyway, I'll get it when I get to my note. But he just comes back with 2 shovels now. So that really was annoying. Of like, I did nothing to progress this puzzle. I could have walked away. I should have been able to walk away, go make a cup of tea, and come back, and the 3-minute timer elapsed, and he came back with the shovels. So, mini games, I talked about that. Play as a cat, I talked about that. Quick access to inventory. So a lot of modern inventory games do this, where you can either slot items into a particular, like, get cursor slot, so I could roll through a particular item. So if I was trying something in different spots in the room, I'd have to keep going back to the menu to get the item and select it again, try it here. Okay, kick back, go to the menu, try it again.
That would have been really helpful with the knife and matches. I know you use the knife a lot in the game.
Yeah, and just being able to, like, maybe you mouse over to an edge of the window and your inventory slides up, of like, maybe when I click on one of these things and use it, would have been nice. There's a lot of things that are more modernized.
Slotted inventory seems like one of those things that, as a game designer, it would be hard to think of, because as the designer, you know each of these items has one purpose. For the player, they don't. And
yeah, you're going to
you only understand that if you...
I do like that they destroyed the item when it was completed, when it was used. Whenever you had used the item, its last time, or wherever it goes, it was removed from your inventory, just so I don't have to keep trying this, everywhere else. The forced scrolling section, I don't know if you guys got through it. It took me about 8 times to make that last jump. And I was really frustrated at, like, why do we have pixel perfect jumping in an adventure game? I like the monotony break of the forced scroller. If you got to the maze quick enough, the robotic cat was in front of you and showed you the path. You could just follow it out. So I did that. I saw on your stream, it got off screen before you noticed it was there. So I was like, these aren't the point of the game. But that last jump, man, if you did it where the cat did the jump, you missed every time.
I think it took me 3 or 4 tries. I would have liked a checkpoint, because it kept going all the way back to the beginning. It went all the way back to the beginning.
I had the most problems with the first jump. I messed up 2 or 3 times on that. Then, like the last time, I was able to get all the way through.
So the first one where you had to jump from the log over the bigger gap.
But it was like pixel perfect. You had to wait till your foot was like right at the ledge to jump.
We talked about this. Too many puzzles are long combinations spelled out in an inventory item or another screen that you can't access the same time as you're working on the puzzle. And then I do have my note, irony, after making this, I got the Call the Nurse puzzle, where Fran holds a card while dialing. So also, this was 2 different puzzles, I think, where you went up and you had to interact with the faucet. And they're like, well, I could do this if the water was turned on. Turn the frickin' water on, Fran. Like, I shouldn't have to, like, go up to the sink, use the pot on the sink, and it not just turn the water on. I shouldn't have to click, turn the water on, now use the pot on the sink. And this happened again in the final stage with the hose. Hook up next to the bathroom.
The water balloons.
Yeah, the water balloons. Use the water balloons on here. I'm like, I could do this if the water was on. Turn it on, because it's 1 click. Just do something, girl. Like do something. Pull your weight here. I'm supposed to be learning to save you from this, and I'm not building that empathy feeling right now, okay? So story and art. I thought it was good that the first use of color in the game was blood. So, like, it's black and white until blood appears. I think it's a nice tension. Used a lot, but I still think it's a good way to introduce that. I actually like the small dialogue choices that I don't think have any impact on the game. Now, some of them were just, like, in this conversation. Like to skip you from going through it again. But, like, when you talk to an NPC, 90% of the time, there's no difference in dialogue. After I played through it and I was watching your stream though, and you made the cake with the sleeping pills in it. I realized I never used that thing. I did the same thing you did. I threw the coffee on the guy, which I loved. I love the little, like, I love Fran's, like, sarcastic, like, deal with... Also, the dude was kind of skeezy and everything like that. So, I didn't feel bad for him. But apparently, those dialogue choices mattered. And if you wanted to give him the cake, you had to answer in a way he was going to trust you to take it.
I think that was another hidden achievement if you got past the guard some other way using the cake, which I didn't figure out.
But most part, they didn't do anything, but I felt they added a lot to the narrative of my Fran and my playthrough. I could choose to be nicer, or I could choose to be more sarcastic. And of course, I went through sarcasm every time. But I like that. I thought that added a little bit without having to have like a deep dialogue system and meaningful choices and remember states and everything like that. And Fran will remember this decision type stuff. I thought her writing was really well. It was very childlike, yet showing out intelligence. I feel like they nailed that difficult balance of like, this is a very smart kid, but they can't talk like an adult. They're not going to have the grammar and the language of an adult. So the phrases and the way she described things felt very well written. I like that. I don't know if you guys noticed, Fran's dress is a straitjacket.
Oh, I did notice like the little buckles on the back.
On the back, they're not like dress straps. They're actually straitjacket snaps.
I didn't notice that.
I thought that was subtle, but nice. I like the idle animations. If you just let them sit there for a bit, they have some neat little idle animations. And the cat starts licking itself.
Like I didn't notice that.
Like a cat would. It's just one leg goes up and that cat goes down. So I liked that there was many variety in the settings that we visited. It broke up the game sections quite nice. The tree zone felt the longest and had the most content padding. However, it was the biggest departure in like setting for the game. The trees up in the sky zone. I do like one of the lines. Fran basically, I don't think she said it this exact way, but the line basically was, "I'm not crazy because my cat told me so." Which I just thought that was really good writing there. Oh yes, do the honors of opening the coffins, said by a children's psychologist to an 11-year-old. And by the way, the coffins are her dead parents. We just want to make sure they're actually in their coffins. And I'm like, you're the worst children's psychologist of the year award right here. You know, we're already taking an 11-year-old out to dig up graves her parents. And you're like, go ahead and you open the coffins first. You know?
That did throw me for a loop that you saw the two dead parents and the cat. I was expecting, because I thought the psychiatrist said, oh, this is where your parents and you are buried. But it's the cat instead. So it's like, oh, is the cat and Fran all one creature being? Or
again, no payoff.
Yeah.
Is the cat even real?
They kind of left it open.
Or is that her split personality?
Because there's a lot of talk in the game. There's a lot of dialogue of like, no, Fran, your cat died.
Yeah, there is no cat.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is the Alice reference. Fran's friend in the photo is named Alice. She's holding a cat and has a big smile. The cat has a big smile on it. And she goes on these wonderful adventures. So there was a little Alice nod.
The cat had the Cheshire
smile. Grin, going on it. So I like that. Let's see. Did we not talk about a puzzle I had a gripe on? Let's see. We talked about the door code. We talked about the recipe of the typewriter. The big rose. That one annoyed me because I took forever to freaking find that. And that was just find this one item with the season set when there's like 12 screens on that, maybe more.
That one would have been my door for that one because I think I just picked it up on the way by somewhere. Or
you just had it set to the right. Yeah, so that was my getting in the one in the back because it's like, so you got like 12 screens. Every screen has 4 states that may or may not have a single item that you may or may not see to pick up. You know, so
I think I spent a good 20 minutes on that arm robot thing too before it mattered. Like
with the wand.
Yeah.
Just messing with it?
Yeah, because I found it, so I was like, well,
what does this do?
Yeah, so
I did mess with that a lot before I realized there was a puzzle to come later on that one. The library password given by Fran from the Wizard didn't match the password she gave to the guy. I don't know. It just bothered me a lot. You know, if you have a password, then make somebody say the actual password, not just the gist of the password. Not like, it's kind of this. But it was like a really long saying or something to treat people. But
Army of Darkness, when Ash goes up, it's like recite the 3 words, Nectu, Verata.
Yes.
I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah,
But yeah, I went up there. I was like, oh yeah, I didn't memorize this password. I'm hoping I don't have to go back and like read it again.
It was so long. I was like, there's no way. I'm just gonna have a dialogue option. But then it wasn't what he just said. That just bothered me. That just really bothered me. And that's it. The misleading ticket solution to the Dancers Club, because I couldn't use the green text. But I mean, overall, it is a decent adventure game. I think some UI tweaks would be the top of my change for like maybe easier access to inventory and maybe tabbing to highlight interactables. And I think the other issues are still worth like maybe addressing, but not critical. I think it's a decent game. It has a decent story, but it doesn't have a decent resolution to it. It keeps its suspense and its intrigue going quite well. Because that Itward guy, he's referenced like when you see the blood writing in the insane asylum, there is Itward written. And then the psychiatrist at points makes reference to Edward. The kids keep talking about Edward, and it's like, no, that's Itward. So, like, there's some good narrative glue throughout the thing that you might notice on a second player through or something like that. But I think that will do it for Fran Bow. Our thoughts on that. Once again, our next game is going to be Anodyne, and then after that is going to be Barony. Thank you, Dylan, for remembering that. But so here to take us out, I'll run around the room again. And Levi, where can everybody find information on what you're up to and what you're doing? LeviDSmith.com is the website. Check it out. Also have, if you're into Sokoban, Ichiban Sokoban is now on Greenlight. Go and vote it up or leave a vulgar comment. Either way, it's fine with me. Because
this is the one. It's the internet. That's how.
That downloads. You can download Ichiban puzzles from the web.
Yes.
And just play them in the game.
Exactly. So you just
that's
download
really cool. I think that's really cool. Yeah.
DylanWolf.com or DylanWolf on Twitter. I just released Shifty Shapes on Google Play, which was my Ludum Dare entry from last Jam. I can't remember when it was. I was trying to think of the month. So that's up there for 99 cents. It's pretty cool. It has achievements and leaderboards and all that stuff. I played it quite a bit last night.
It's good.
All right, I'm at www.doublesquarellc.com or on Twitter at doublesquarejoe. That's I got links on there to go. I got apps out in the Play Store. They're all free, and soon on iOS. Hopefully by next meeting. And they're under Double Square. Double Squares on like, Google Play. If you search for that, you'll probably find them. Mm-hmm. And then there's I have a company page set up on the Play Store too. So if you click on one, you can get to the rest from there. Or I have it as a pinned tweet on my name too. So yeah. All right. You can find me at ViNull.com, ViNull, and also the same at Twitter. I don't have any game projects at the moment because I've been working on getting my Code Stock Talk up and done. I'll be giving, if you've seen the talk I've given for 5 years now, I think, Quest for Fun, this is finally part 2 is here. Now, whether it's going to be the weak middle chapter of a trilogy or it'll just, I don't know yet. I don't know. But I've been working on that. So Code Stock is this coming weekend, the 14th, 15th, or 15th, 16th, or whatever this weekend is coming. Is Code Stock this month. You'll also be able to catch Game Design Chat will be at Code Stock. We're going to have a panel on game jams and just participating in game jams and some of that from our experiences.
I think it's Friday afternoon, right?
Friday at 12:55
p.m.
Okay. Yes.
Close to 1.
Very close to 1 p.m. So if you're at Code Stock, you can drop down there. I'm going to try to record the I'm going to try to record the panel and post it as a podcast so that we can share it out on this as well. So look forward to that. The other thing is if you want to watch me swear at video games, you can go over to These Are Video Games on YouTube. It's also, you can go to thesearevideogames.com, but it's still a Hello World WordPress site, so I don't know what that'll get you. It doesn't even have a link to the YouTube channel. But on the channel, I wrapped up the Shadow of the Colossus playthrough, and then I've got my videos up of Paragon going up, in addition to John's playing Dark Souls. And then coming up to the channel soon, more Dark Souls. I'm playing the DLC of Dark Souls 2, which I'd never played before, and so I'm running through that. So it's like a mini Souls series, because you can't have too much. You can't have too many Dark Souls games up there on that. So thank you everyone for tuning in. If you like the show, you're listening to us on Google Play or iTunes, and you feel up to it, leave us a rating or review on the podcast networks. That can really help people discover. That does a lot to help people discover. And I don't think it really matters whether, you don't have to give us a positive review to help people discover it. So if there's like something that we do that you're not quite fond of, we go too long, or we talked way too much about Pokemon Go at the beginning of this podcast, and that really just rubs you raw, and you want to leave that in the comment, just go ahead and just know that that activity is the metric, not necessarily that we have a great review. But if you want to write a great review too, I'm not going to turn that down. So, thank you guys, everyone, for listening, and tune in next month for Anodyne.